Here's what nobody talks about when they talk about loud exhausts. It isn't about annoying your neighbors. It isn't about insecurity. And it isn't about compensating for anything. Those are the easy dismissals, the ones people reach for when they haven't thought carefully enough about what's actually happening. What's actually happening is older than cars, older than engines. It's rooted in something that lives in the part of the brain that existed long before language did. And if you want to understand why a certain kind of man will spend serious money, sometimes absurd money, to make his car louder, you have to be willing to go a little deeper than the surface level mockery. Because what you're really asking is, what does a man express through sound when he can't express it any other way? Go back to Southern California in the late 1940s. The war is over. Young men are home. They have mechanical skills, surplus energy, and a hunger to feel something again after years of doing what they were told. They take old Ford flatheads and strip them down. They push them onto dry lake beds, and they run them as fast as they'll go. The exhaust note isn't a byproduct. It's the point. It's the proof. That crackling, barking, earth-shaking sound is the sound of something being pushed to its limit and surviving. Hot rod culture was never really about transportation. It was about transformation, taking something ordinary and making it extraordinary. Taking a machine that was built for the masses and bending it toward one person's specific vision of what performance should feel and sound like. Then came the muscle car era, and that language got louder. The Pontiac GTO, the Chevelle SS, the Dodge Charger. Detroit was selling power in a box, and the exhaust note was the signature on the contract. Buyers didn't just want horsepower figures, they wanted to hear the horsepower. They wanted confirmation, at every stoplight, that what lived under the hood was real and serious and alive. Street racing culture took that ethos underground and gave it a different edge. The import tuner scene of the late 90s added a new chapter: smaller engines, higher revs, a different kind of sound, but the same underlying impulse. And modern performance tuning, with its active exhaust valves and ECU-mapped pops and burbles on deceleration, proves that even in the age of software, the appetite for mechanical expression hasn't gone anywhere. If anything, it's been refined. The thread running through all of it is the same. Loud exhausts are a form of language. They say something. The question is what? To understand the psychology here, you need to start with a simple, uncomfortable truth about male behavior. Men have always used signals of power to communicate their presence and capacity. This isn't a character flaw. It's evolutionary hardware. Evolutionary psychologists describe the concept of honest signaling, the idea that in social species, individuals communicate their fitness, strength, and resources through displays that are difficult to fake. The peacock's tail, the stag's antlers, these aren't vanity projects. They're biological broadcasts. They cost something to produce, which is exactly what makes them credible. A loud, well-built exhaust system costs something to produce: time, money, knowledge, or all three. It signals technical investment, deliberate choice, and a willingness to stand out. Whether the man behind the wheel is consciously thinking in those terms or not, the signal is being read by other enthusiasts, by passersby, and most importantly, by himself. The sound is confirmation. It tells him every time he gets in the car that what he built is real. Carl Jung would have found this familiar territory. Jung wrote extensively about archetypes, universal patterns of meaning that live in the collective unconscious, inherited from every generation of human beings that came before us. One of the central archetypes in masculine psychology is what Jung called the hero, the figure who tests himself against the world, who proves his worth through action, who leaves a mark. The car, in that framework, isn't just a vehicle. It's an expression of the hero archetype made mechanical. It's a man's ability to command power, to master a machine, to build or tune something that performs exactly the way he intends. And the exhaust note is the hero's voice. It's how the archetype announces itself, not with words, but with sound. This matters because the men most drawn to this culture are often, in the rest of their lives, quiet, controlled, professional, engineers who solve problems methodically, entrepreneurs who make calculated decisions. Men who have learned, through years of adult life, to keep their intensity contained. They don't raise their voice in meetings. They don't make dramatic displays in personal relationships. They carry a lot, and they carry it quietly. The car is where that discipline gets to exhale. Thorstein Veblen gave us the concept of conspicuous consumption, the idea that people use material goods not just for function, but as a form of social communication. What you own tells people something about who you are and where you stand. But Veblen's framework, applied here, needs a small adjustment. This isn't purely about status display for an outside audience. The men who build serious performance vehicles who spec out titanium exhaust systems or custom header work aren't doing it to impress people at the grocery store. Most of them don't particularly care what strangers think. What they care about is authenticity. They care about the gap between who they are inside and what the world sees. The loud exhaust is a form of conspicuous expression rather than conspicuous consumption. It's not about showing others what you have. It's about expressing, outwardly, something that's true on the inside. The intensity, the precision, the commitment to doing something the right way, not the convenient way. That sound is a mechanical equivalent of saying, I take this seriously. I always have. And then there's the neurological dimension, which is worth spending a moment on because it's often overlooked. Sound is processed in the brain's auditory cortex, but emotionally charged sounds, particularly those that are low in frequency and high in intensity, activate the amygdala. They produce a physiological response. Heart rate increases, adrenaline enters the bloodstream, attention sharpens. A well-tuned V8 at full throttle doesn't just sound impressive. It triggers a genuine physiological state. And for men who spend their working lives in offices, in front of screens, managing complexity through abstraction, that physical response is rare and valuable. The car gives them access to something their daily life systematically denies them: a full-body, unambiguous, visceral experience of being alive. There's nothing synthetic about that. It's one of the most honest things they do all week. What's also worth understanding is the relationship between sound and mastery. For an enthusiast who knows what they're listening to, the exhaust note is information. The tone, the pitch, the crispness of the throttle response, the way the exhaust sounds under load versus at idle, these tell a story about the state of the engine, the quality of the tune, the health of the components. The experienced ear hears data. It hears the result of decisions made correctly or incorrectly. This is why the community around performance exhaust isn't just about volume. It's about quality of sound. There's a reason enthusiasts spend weeks researching header design and muffler specifications. There's a reason they talk about exhaust notes the way other people talk about music, with vocabulary, with opinion, with genuine emotional investment. They're not chasing noise. They're chasing a specific kind of excellence, one that only reveals itself at a certain RPM, under certain conditions, when everything is working the way it should. That pursuit of excellence is one of the most consistent themes in the psychology of serious car enthusiasts. These are men who are allergic to mediocrity, who take a quiet but powerful satisfaction in things done properly. The car becomes the domain where they can impose their standards without compromise, where close enough is never close enough. And the exhaust note is the sound of those standards being met. Here's what strikes you. If you spend enough time in this culture, the men who are most deeply invested in it aren't trying to get something from the outside world. They're not chasing external validation. They've largely moved past caring what people outside the community think about their choices. What they're doing is something more private and more honest. They've found a form of expression that matches the intensity of their inner experience, the drive, the precision, the restlessness that comes with being a person who is always raising the standard, always looking for what comes next. Most of life doesn't give you a direct line between your internal state and the world around you. Most of life is filtered, mediated, delayed. The car is immediate. You press the throttle, and the world responds. Right now, without ambiguity. The engine doesn't negotiate, doesn't hedge, doesn't send a calendar invite. It does exactly what it's capable of, at exactly the moment you ask it to. There's a psychological cleanness to that which is genuinely rare. So when you see a man in a well-built performance car, windows up, expression calm, pulling away from a light with a sound that turns every head on the street, don't reach for the easy interpretation. Don't assume it's a cry for attention or a measure of something lacking. What you're looking at, more likely, is a man who spent decades learning to contain himself, who built something real with his own knowledge and investment and taste. Who found, in the language of mechanical engineering, a way to say something that the rest of his life doesn't always give him room to say. He's not making noise to be heard by everyone else. He's making noise because the machine sounds the way he feels inside. And for a few seconds, at a certain throttle position, on a certain stretch of open road, those two things are exactly the same.